first of all, to introduce myself, I'm Christelle Touré, in charge of marketing for Middle East and Africa in Gemalto company. So Gemalto, what we are doing at Gemalto, we are a digital leader in security. We are addressing mainly three different markets or segments. One being telecommunications with solutions and software around mobile marketing, around roaming, around many services linked to NFC and LTE, the new wave, new generation of services. The second segment we do address as Gemalto is payment industry, as well with software and products like credit card, contactless stickers, these kind of things. And the third segment we do address is government services with identity, passport, and all solutions related to issuance of these systems. So we are at the let's say convergence of three interesting segments, which makes it very interesting, and that's one of the reasons why I was proposing to discuss about smart cities and to focus a little bit more in the role of payments in the smart cities and the new generation of cities that we see. So, as an agenda, what I propose is to first comment on why the concept of smart cities is important. We're hearing this word more and more often, and specifically in Middle East. So what is behind? Why is it so important? Then I want to propose to review some typical use cases around smart cities, not necessarily linked to payments, but a lot of different things can be done, and I guess it's quite interesting to review them with some concrete examples. And from there, to dive in more into payments and see what is the role of payments in smart cities, what can it bring to the end user, what can it bring to the ecosystem. So First of all, why smart cities is important. More and more people are living in cities today. In cities, we have a connected world. Everything is becoming digital. Everybody is connected. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 4G, LTE. It's representing a huge potential on the market. And basically, a lot of people are focusing on this as, okay, what can it bring with connectivity? Gathering more and more information, big data, all these kind of challenges that are popping up. All this is bringing some challenges as well. So typically, when you start seeing connectivity, gathering a lot of information, you start to see popping up some security risk. We heard, unfortunately, about more and more fraud cases or stolen information at some big retailers. These kind of things can become a real issue in the future if people are relying on system and giving more and more of their identity or personality to social medias or loyalty programs or this kind of things. So that's one of the risks. Then another issue might be the easiness of service usage. Having a lot of services is good. Making them visible for the end user can be sometimes a little bit tricky. That's going to impact the usage of these services, and as well, they might be complicated. So that's an important point into the new concept of smart cities. The last point being support of growing costs. The more infrastructure, the more use cases, the more programs, the more it's going to cost. Typically, big data, you can gather more information in 1 year now than the past 40 years. So it's going to have a cost. It's going to be a huge amount of information that you need somehow to store in a proper way and to be scalable for the future. So that's one angle of smart cities. A second angle is the population. Where do people live today? In fact, they are living more and more in the cities. So from World Bank Association, so 1 person out of 2 in the world is living in cities. If we focus more on Middle East for today, we see that the ratio is much higher, and it's obvious when we see Dubai, when we see Qatar, when we see Bahrain, Saudi, all these countries, people are really, really living in countries. So there, you can really bring a high level of service to the citizens if you design properly your city for the future. Having more and more people in the cities bring, of course, some challenges in terms of environments, in terms of traffic, in terms of usage of the services. So all this, we can have some solution to really cover that. And if we focus a little bit more in payments, In payment, you've got two different dynamics. You've got the dynamics for the higher-end market with bank people, more in the developed countries. They do expect some nice level of service with convenience. We're talking about contactless. We're talking about branded card, loyalty programs. While in another part of the world, and even in the country, we have, even in the region, we have a mix of these two populations, more unbanked people, where the needs are completely different, and it's much more related to being able to make a transaction in a secure way, transfer money, send money back to the family, or do some local payments, or simply receive their salaries. So these are the main, let's say, main specificities of payments for the smart cities concept. So the challenge in all this is to make an ecosystem that is going to be efficient. You need to bring innovation. You need to bring it in a way that all the players can have a good added value and contribute to the solution. So that's really the challenge of the payment into the new smart cities concept. Of course, basically, you need to have solutions that can be secure, that can be scalable. Scalable meaning you don't want to design today something that you know you will have to change in 3, 4, 5 years' time. It's not possible. At the pace of the changes of today's world, you need really to plan for the next 10, 15, 20 years when you're starting to think about smart cities. So that's something very, very critical. It must be certified, of course, standardization, certification, security certification for payment is a key, very, very important. So as interoperability, all your system may be able to communicate easily together without being too much of a trouble for the end user to understand or to use it. Of course, high availability. You cannot say at midnight, sorry, the service is interrupted till tomorrow morning. It must be operational 24/7. That's a key, and it must be cross-platform. All your services must converge at some point into one single place, one single wallet. I will detail a little bit more on the wallet later on, but that's the place where people need to have access to the services. And easy onboarding. Basically, in the smart concept, the biggest challenge is to make sure that people can easily access to the services. If you have a full list of KYC that people need to fill, put forms, go somewhere to identify and so on, you're going to naturally kill the uptake of the service. So easy onboarding is a key for the concept of smart cities and payment in smart cities. So what are the typical use cases in a smart city? So basically, you need 3 main elements for a smart city to really be smart and really bring some added value to the customers. First is connectivity. Everybody is connected. You need to have data easily available for the people, for the citizens, but as well for the machine. Imagine a smart meter or traffic lights that are connected to smooth the traffic in a city. You must be able to provide connectivity to all these devices. So that's a very, very important point to start with. From there, you need to have mobility. People are always on the move, so you need to design services that enable people to move and not to be restricted to certain areas or certain use cases. And the last one, be inconvenience. Easy to use, easy to understand, easy to deploy, and future-proof. That's the 3 main pillars. So based on that, we can split it in different groups. We tried to see the different type of use cases. I will go one by one afterwards, but basically the first one is, I'm sorry because the screen is too big for the table. I don't see the screen. So connectivity and mobility, I explained a little bit how it works, but basically providing information, media and connectivity everywhere to everyone. Boost economic developments, so that's where the role of payment is particularly important. So how to help innovative experience into the retail, how to help innovative experience in the loyalty. All these use cases can really bring growth in the financial world. Other use cases that are not directly related to payment but are very important is everything related to life expectancy, mobile health, how to help people to have more smooth tracking for their diabetes, if any, or chronic problems. So that's as well a very important concept for smart cities. The more people, the more need you have to provide this level of services to everyone in a smooth way. Commuting, traffic, transportation, that's as well very important. Could it be metro or could it be buses, but as well road monitoring, traffic. It can be for traffic lights to optimize the traffic in certain areas. It can be for fines, making sure that you can monitor the people that have a bad driving behavior or these kind of things. So that's as well critical. And of course, everything related to environment, sustainability, optimize the spendings of water, optimize the spendings of electricity so that you protect the environment and you don't overspend in a non-useful way. And another angle is obviously border management, visa management. The more people in the city, the more you have to spend time into the paperwork, visa, passport. So proposing as well a nice and smooth way to have, let's say, crowd management at the border. It can be very interesting. So I'm thinking here about eGate, for example. That is one of them. You can imagine many other smooth way to get electronical visas or these kind of things. All that combined with some government services, which can be as well smooth and made more easy by the usage of a wallet and in a smart city concept. So all these are typical use cases. They are very different, but they are all linked to making the user experience, the life of people easier in whatever aspect of their life. So I will go very quickly on some of the use cases. But basically, cloud infrastructure, how to help people benefit from the mobility, accessing their corporate information or online communities in a smooth way, posting information, sharing information, as well as learning, remote learning, or sharing their picture. So that's one aspect. Cloud management, again, it's related to big data indirectly. Big data is collecting a lot of data to make good usage of it. So the tricky part will be how as well to make sure that the right information is provided to the cloud. The right information so that you can really build something concrete out of all these megabytes of data. Harness connectivity, again, smart devices, more and more devices, all connected, all smart. I will just detail on one example, for example, connected cars. One typical use case is car renting. You go in a big city, you arrive, you want to rent a car, you go into your smart wallet on your mobile, decide that you want to rent a car, pay for the car, find the location, go there, smooth experience, very, very convenient. Enhance public services and e-governments, so basically simplifying the access and the payment of all government services, using payment cards, using identity on the mobile, all this concept which is really picking up nowadays everywhere in the world and specifically in the region. You can mix that with loans, for example, for students or for people willing to increase their purchasing power, as well as health benefits or salary payment. So that's one of the angles. Immigration, streamlining of immigration. So I mentioned it already a little bit, but automated border control, permit, residence, everything related to e-visa, e-passport, how to smooth the experience, make it accessible in one place on the mobile in a secure way, in a personal way, and in a simple way. Transit, so how to simplify the experience of the commuters in the metro, typically in the buses, how to help them to pay or refill, top up their transport ticket. You can as well see it from the angle of information for live information on the line timings, when is the next train, what is the next timetable for this line, and so on. Another angle as well is related to security. camera, so it's more machine-to-machine example, but how to make sure that the cameras can really analyze what's happening in live and retro feedback to some systems so that people have access to information in live. Transportation, I was mentioning earlier as well, but everything related to smart traffic management, anticipating on the traffic, helping people to take the right itineraries on the road to optimize their travel plan and so on. Life expectation, how to help people to better monitor their health when they have chronic diseases, and in a smooth and convenient way. Sustainability with smart energy, so this one is particularly important here, where you want to optimize the consumption typically of water, which is something that we not necessarily always have in the Middle East. How to optimize that to benefit to everybody. Recycling as well, very important. You can imagine to pay your bills directly from the same place, the same wallet. So this is bringing convenience as well. And everything, in fact, is converging into one single place, which is linked this time to payment, which is a mobile wallet. How to have a nice user interface where you can bring all and merge all these convenience services into one place with combined payment methods enabling people to smoothly access to all the services, pay their bills, renew their visa, pay their Salik, all these kind of things in one single place. You can have as well identity, you can link into the identity so that people can have access to a higher level of services, not just paying for a bill, but maybe identifying to sign some transaction, specifically interesting on the government part. So all this is not new, in fact. It started long back. Many initiatives worldwide are already happening. It could be some smart event management, for example, with specific bracelets to enable people to access and pay for 1 day or 1 week to have a convenient experience. Could be some student cards or city cards where people merge all the services onto one card. That is really enabling them to have a smooth experience across the businesses, including the payment part. Today, really, what we see is that on the payment, it's really contactless that is leading the trend, mainly because of convenience. That's clearly a fact. 1 phone out of 3 will be NFC in the coming years. You've got more than 450 million people that will be involved into mobile payments somehow. So this is really happening already. And it's really important to keep in mind that the payment has really a key role to play into that. Why payment on the mobile? In fact, it's mainly the mobile. It's obvious, but everybody's got a mobile. Not everybody's got a payment card. Not everybody's got a passport, but everybody's got a mobile. It became really the best friend of people in the past 10 years. It started with just voice, placing a voice call, sending SMS, then cameras were added. It became really the tool that you always have with you. You go back home if you forget your mobile. You might not go back home if you forget your wallet. So that's really the central part of most people's lives today. Now we are adding on top NFC. We are adding a lot of applications. We are adding identity on it. So it is a must-have. So payment on the mobile is really a natural move. And in fact, having a single interface where you can have in your wallet all the use cases is really important, and that's how people will really move in the future. So typical use cases is related to payment is in-shop experience or searching online for buying some goods. Could be advertising. A lot of brands are willing to communicate in an intelligent way to their subscribers. So in an intelligent way, meaning non-intrusive, no spamming effect, but on the proper information and at the right moment. So that's something that the wallet a single wallet can really help to feedback what is the habit of that person, what is he interested in, and how to better communicate with them. Loyalty couponing, obviously everybody would love to have all the loyalty points, all the loyalty cards, all the coupons available all the time. You never forget your card. You always benefit from the latest offer. And social medias if you want to communicate. So that's really the main let's say objective of a smart wallet, to enable to bring all that into one single place that the people will know how to use, will know how to leverage on, and will really trust. The possible frauds and threats around identity that might be stolen, people are more and more conscious about the importance of trusting the place in which they put their information and their data. Trust is different from security. Security is a must. It's how to make sure that the data is protected, is not accessible from anywhere, it's secure, encrypted, and so on. So that's one thing. It's not because the system is secure that the system is trusted. Trust is the way people perceive it. So on top of security, it requires a lot of communication and education so that people really are comfortable with giving their inputs to this system. So security is a must. Trust is really something that is required, and it's much more. On top of trust, what you need is innovation. If you want to make a smart payment, a smart wallet, or a smart user experience, you need to bring something new, something innovative, something that is really changing or bringing some added value to the people. So that's very important in the terms that onboarding might always be the limitation factor. When you launch a new application, how to make the people use it, how to make the people be aware of it, and how to make the people register with the proper level of security. And the third element is scalability. So for a payment system, security is very important. You deploy a system that will be there for 4 years. How to make sure it's scalable, knowing that a lot of evolutions are done more and more quickly. So how to make sure you plan your system for the next 10, 15 years. So trust, being able to bring innovative services, and all that in a mindset of scalability, future-proof. Make sure that it will be operational in 10, 15 years. These are the 3 key elements to keep in mind for this type of solution, so that the end user can really embrace new services, use them, and be comfortable with the security and safety of the data. That's how you bring the trust indeed. So there's a few trends on the wallet. The first one is obviously convergence. Many people are talking about convergence. What does it mean exactly? It's mainly bringing all the identity devices, payment devices, loyalty devices onto one single place where you can easily pick and choose what you want to use, and where everything is available all the time. So one single place where you can find all your credentials, I would say, all your credentials. This place naturally is a mobile, as we've seen before. This is already existing in many places. The key challenge is to have everybody sharing the same, let's say, the same core base, so that it's becoming interoperable. So that's one of the challenges that remains. You still have a lot of implementation for 1 or 2 use cases. Having everything at once into one single place is always limiting by the willingness of people to share, the willingness of service providers to share their information. So this is where we see more and more national moves or national projects. So typically, for example, ISIS in the US, which is a national initiative with major banks and major operators, addressing as well loyalty and couponing. We are providing the system for them, and the fact that it's at a national level is really bringing a lot in terms of interoperability and innovative use cases around the retail. So NFC and contactless. So that's as well a real trend. When we read the news, we read mainly on that. NFC, 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 how to deploy it, where to deploy it, why shall it be better or worse than before. So the key element I wanted here to outline is NFC and contactless are not exactly the same. It's one experience, contactless payment, whether it's done from the phone or from another form factor. The importance is to educate people to start using the contactless mode. It can be a contactless card, contactless banking card. It can be a sticker that you put at the back of your phone. It can be a bracelet where you just tap and go in for some event or access or eventually transportation or for small kids. It can be multiple form factor. What is important really is to start educating people to have this contactless gesture, whether it's NFC or not, as long as they are used to tap their phone or something, it's there for the next coming years. So the time NFC will be there in the phone, everybody will find absolutely natural to pay by tapping his phone. This first level will be done already. So and all multiple form factors do exist, so it's really not an issue to start now. Another trend is targeted offer. It's very important. If you want to have a smart wallet that is really bringing value to the end users, you need to be able to propose targeted offer. For this, you have different type of technologies that are helping you to deploy. So at Gemalto, we have a technology that we call Smart Message, which is based on SMS, interactive SMS. So basically, it's accessible on all phones because it's SMS technology, and it's a simple pop-up on the screens where you can push information to the end user, which is one level, which is good. But more importantly, you can as well do surveys or collect data, or propose menus so that people easily scroll down in the menus and navigate as they wish. So this is very important in the concept of mobile payment and smart wallet. You can imagine proposing for brands to do surveys, to segment their base, to ask people whether they live in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Align, so that you know where they are and what to propose them. No need to push couponing on Dubai's shop to someone that is living in Align, for example. So that type of things can be very, very important. You can, of course, boost your own services, make, for example, either awareness campaigns on new offers, new products, or do some specific discounts for a given period of time so that people receive this information, eventually opt in and say, yes, I want to receive that coupon for next week on the 10% discount on Carrefour. And they will have the coupon already in their wallet. So when they go shopping the next week, it will be there. When they pay and tap, automatically it will propose them, do you want to use your discount? Yes or no? So that's as well the type of targeted offers that you can do, and the profiling of your population, of your subscriber base. So this is already ongoing on a lot of places, more in the mobile marketing world. For brands like agencies that want to have another more interactive channels, or like telecom operators willing to promote their own services, communicate on their new offers. On the banking world, you can imagine to do these kind of campaigns, to propose offers to your customers, to grab information on what they would like to see in the next 3, 4, 5 years. In terms of new services or innovative services. So this is really something that can be used by all segments, all market segments. And yes, the fourth trend is really related to retail. That's really coming more and more often and on a regular basis everywhere in the world. So people are changing their habits. A lot more people nowadays are buying from their mobile or their tablets. The habits are shifting. Nobody almost goes to make the shoppings on a regular basis. People order online, get delivered, or they buy, but they get delivered later on. So the habits are really changing. This retail market is a huge market, and shifting it towards the mobile, or let's say a virtual way, can really help making it more efficient and more smart in the way you purchase and you spend your time. So that's really something that is moving fast. It's related obviously to loyalty, couponing, but as well to the ease of access to these services from the mobile. So not just an internet website, but you could imagine really a mobile design place where you can get easily the access to what is the last purchases you did. Do you want to do the same, or you have automatically popping up some goods that you were purchasing before that you can eventually reorder naturally. So this retail is really important in the new trends. So for that, we have on our booth demonstration for the shop and go, full experience where you can be detected when you enter the shop, use your coupons, download new coupons, subscribe to your loyalty program, make your payments. So all this is available on Gemalto booth. So I invite, if you can come and visit, it will be a real illustration of what can be done with this type of smart wallet and smart payment initiatives. I think it's quite nice to really visualize what could be the full experience for the end user from A to Z in a very short time frame. So mainly that's it for my presentation. So globally, as Gemalto, we are really supporting the smart cities concept. We have a lot of platforms that can enable all the use cases I was mentioning around payment, around machine to machine, around bringing the identity onto the mobile. So if you want more details, we can review it at our booth. And I will maybe take a few questions now. So I have a video illustrating all these use cases. So I don't know if there are any specific questions to be taken now. Yeah. Okay, so the difference between NFC and contactless. So in fact, NFC is a little bit more restrictive than contactless. Contactless is more generic terms in terms of communication with a distance. Okay, so if you use, for example, a banking card that is contact and contactless, like a PayPass card and so on, this is contactless technology. You do the transaction with a distance, 0.5 centimeters. That's what is normal in the contactless world. When you go towards the mobile world, then you start to call it NFC, near field communication. It's based on the contactless technology as well. Now it's bringing more than just contactless. If you have a credit card that is combi, contact and contactless, you have the form factor, but you don't have the network connection, you don't have the screen, you cannot, many use cases are limited. Same if you have a sticker. Sticker is the same level than a banking card that could be contactless. NFC will bring you on top of this the screen and the interactivity from the network. So that's in that sense that for me NFC is bringing more than contactless. So contactless is the first part of the gesture, whatever form factor. NFC is a very high end where you can really bring nice use cases, let's say, in a very personalized way. Now it's exactly the same technology. It's just progressive offer, and you cannot offer everything on contactless form factor versus NFC ones, where you can really have a nice set of services.
What will be the effect for NFC ecosystem by Apple adoption for next iPhone release? Okay. The rumors that Apple will adopt NFC technology.
So in terms of adoption, so there are a lot of projects worldwide. So as Gemalto, we are involved in 50 projects already worldwide, up and running. So live projects, which can be on country scales, or really big retailers or big payment companies. So we have seen a very sharp increase in the requests in the past 2 years. It was mainly coming from the telecom side, what we call MNO-TSM. So when you have these NFC use cases, basically the principle is that you download application into your secure element, which is in the phone. So the Trusted Service Manager is a platform that enables you to download this application securely, and most importantly, manage it over the time. If you lose your mobile, we need to block your card. We can block it from the system point of view, exactly like when you lose your wallet and you block your credit card by calling your bank. If it's in your phone, first of all, you call your bank and you do the very same, so you block the card from the system, but on top of it, with the TSM, you can materially destroy the card in the phone. So the person that will come after, even if they have the PIN code, when they open the wallet, it's empty, there is no more card in it. So that's the principle of the TSM. So for this, you need two bricks, one which is with the operator and one which is with the service provider. Can be a bank, can be a transport operator. So we have seen a lot of requests on NFC from the operator sides, and I guess most of the market is about to be equipped. On the service provider, it's starting now, so we see a lot of new use cases, people that want to join the pack and really benefit from that. So in terms of trend, it's really booming in terms of demand for the infrastructure point of view. In terms of the usage for the how many transactions people do a day and so on. So I cannot really disclose a lot of numbers, but because obviously it's very confidential. But in some of our implementation, big implementation, we are reaching activation at the peak time for one wallet every second, almost, in the peak times, which meaning that it's really picking up on the real activation from the end users. So it's really happening. It's really happening now. In a massive way. It's still the beginning, but the activation rate can be very high.